Hello, Professor and my classmates. This is me, Sabrina Frost, and I will be representing on a very timely and emerging topic in healthcare technology, which is governance in the era of the generative AI and how it's reshaping the landscape of the healthcare information technology compliance and governance. So, while this holds exciting potential for efficiency and innovation, it also raises serious questions about privacy, accountability, bias, and regulatory readiness. So, my presentation actually, I also prepare for my presentation purposes, and I also share my screen here. This is my presentation title, which is Adaptive Leadership in the Era of the Healthcare Artificial Intelligence for Generation. So now I briefly describe. So the introduction. Over the last 3 years, so the advent of the generative AI, which is Gen AI, large language models, which is LLMS, such as a ChatGPT and MedPlum, PubMed, and the other refined medical AIs has brought to about revolutionary breakthroughs in the patient's healthcare interactions, documentations, automation, and diagnostics. In contrast to conventional AI systems that have been trained for the particular task, Gen AI is able to talk to patients, summarize EHRS, provide diagnosis recommendations, and create a free text narratives. Particularly when it comes to the governance and compliance, this development has not yet received much attention in the academic literature. However, there is a significant chance that it will and established frameworks for accuracy, privacy, and the ethical accountability in health information technology. Here I'm share my second slide, which is effect on interstate parties, healthcare providers, which is very important to healthcare providers parties like automatic non-taking clinical decision making and administrative burden reduction and are all made possible by Gen AI solution, but they also bring with them additional compliance obligations such as the making sure AI generated data, maintaining clinical accuracy and audibility, conforms with HIPAA documentation standards, and does not spread false medical information. Patients may experience dangers such as the data explosion, opaque decision making, and less human oversight, but they also stand to the gain improve communication, better customization, and quicker service delivery. The accuracy of AI advice and informed consent is becoming increasingly problematic. Policymakers, due to the lack of a clear regulations regarding the incorporation of LLMs into the clinical process, liability in AI driven recommendations, and the accountability and compatibility, like such a tools with HIPAA or high tech standards regulators are rushing to catch up. Algorithmic transparency and ethical accountability are still open questions. The next one is the technology companies. Although the healthcare industry offers AI developers a sizable market, and they must contend with the significant compliance requirements such as a data provenance, audit trails, and model explainability, and adversarial resilience. There are legal ambiguities because general purpose AI tools in medicine are not subjected to FDA style oversight. Challenges and obstacles. So, legal and regulatory obstacles, there is not set procedure for improving Gen AI models for uses clinical settings due to the HIPAA lack of consideration for generative models. Data management duties are unclear. Governance is made more difficult by issue with intellectual property of generated content and liability in AI guided treatment. Technology restrictions. Because LLMs frequently misrepresent information, they are also dangerous in clinical context. The struggle with context retention between the session and do not have the real-time EHR integration and satisfaction FHIR interoperability standards because of their computing requirements like HIPAA and the others perspective. There are also notable infrastructural gaps for safety existing the models on site. Here I'm showing knowledge acquired and the prospects for the future. The implementation and the compliance best practice include using hybrid human AI decision making system with clinical supervision. So number one is a continue to keep through records of AI outputs and interaction. Use AI assurance frameworks to conduct routine bias testing and audits, and include explainable AI elements to boost confidence. The next point is the regulatory and policy suggestion, where introduce HIPAA regulations modified tailored to the artificial intelligence that address accountability, audibility, and transparency of training data for automated clinical support tools. Here, establish an FDA style certification for clinically deployable GenAI tools. Require patients' consent to make decision using AI. The next one is the advantage and disadvantage. Difference between like including the potential for quickness tightness, less provider burnout, and more individualized treatment. However, in the absence of the strict compliance rule, it runs the danger of exacerbating already existing disparities, undermining patient confidence, and introducing damaging errors. Here, trends to watch including like medically optimized model like LLMs, MidPalm, and Hippocratic AI, synthetic data generations for research and training, and the GenAI that protects privacy via federated learning. Lastly, I conclude although generative AI has a revolutionary potential, its application in healthcare also represents significant ethical and compliance issues. Stakeholders are forced to recognize data protection, clinical responsibility, and regulatory supervision, and it pushes the limits of conventional HIT governance. And here I'm showing the references, which I actually conclude the whole my presentation here. So yeah, this is my presentation, and thank you.